Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 19 of Dallas Jamming. Can you guys believe it's episode 19 already? Wow. The Tetra has been slept on. The Tetra has officially been slept on. People have finally realized it, and the price is going up. I think it has a lot to do with the Dave Smith Tempest being discontinued. So people weren't really paying attention to the Tetra. Sadly, or I guess luckily for some people, the price is going up. These are now going for around, I've seen one go for like $900. Yikes. The first one that I got, this was actually, I think, my first multi-timbral synth. This is my second one. I had one maybe like 4 years ago. It was really cool, but I moved on to other things. But it's come back into the studio, and I'm very excited about it. So there's something special about the Tetra. It is not just a polyphonic synth, it is a multi-timbral synth. So if you're new to synths, maybe you don't know what that means, I have the KeyStep Pro here to just show you, like, demonstrate. I'm not gonna look into the multi-timbral mode in this video. I'm gonna save like the combo, which is the multi-timbral mode, for a different video because it really goes in so in depth. But basically it means that each voice has its own mind. Each voice has its own audio output, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then each voice has its own MIDI channel, which means that I can sequence the Tetra on here, one voice, another voice here, another voice here, and another voice here. Sip of the coffee. I get so excited about these videos I forget to breathe. Okay, so we're gonna look at how this sounds today. How exciting is this? It lights up when it tells us like what voice is being pushed. You guys have to remember, this is back when like music stores were a thing and not everything was online. So I'm assuming that it was on the shelf and it's like, oh, it doesn't have a keyboard plugged into it. You know, the person that worked there doesn't know how to use it, so didn't plug a keyboard up to it. Let's be smart and put the push button on it. And this push button is also on the Mofo. So the Mofo is the yellow one. You might have seen it. It also comes in keyboard version. Those are really cool. I've never owned one just because I went straight for the Mofo x4, which is that 4 voice version of that. And it sounds really fat. It's just one voice. But this one is 4 voices. So we can make chords, and it's multi-timbral, which is not something that we see a lot like nowadays. I haven't really, like, there really isn't something like the Tetra that I can think of. If you guys can think of anything, let me know. But that is like this size, and it's multi-timbral. I guess, I don't know, why aren't multi-timbral things a thing? Like, they're amazing. Maybe they'll come back. Okay, so we have 4 assignable parameters, and these can be assigned like per program. Things like the feedback of the volume, sub-oscillator, like we can assign these. But then these bottom ones, and they're also endless, so like, you know, they keep going and going and going. These last 4, these 2 are endless, these 2 end, left and right. And they're always the filter, the attack, and the decay, and decay-release. So I think this is like a great setup because, like, honestly, these are probably the 2 things that I tweak more on like regular synths. And like just having them there really, you know, expands the possibilities of not having to be so much in the menu. Like, you're still gonna have to go in the menu when you're setting up your combos and stuff like that, but just for like playability, gorgeous. I love, like, you know, that is one of my most tweakable things that I do because I love those like elongated, long, sustaining decays. Let's see how much it sustains. Let's open it all the way. I just wanted to see how long that was gonna go. Still going. Gorgeous. All right. Let's turn it. So for those of you that are new to synthesis, maybe you don't know like what an attack does. So basically, I'm not gonna give you like the Oxford definition of it, but basically it like it makes our sound start later. So it kind of like gives it like a bowing effect, kind of like a string effect. You know, like it takes a while for the sound to start. So if you're messing with your synth and you just get your synth and you're tweaking knobs and then all of a sudden there's no sound, most of the time that's because your attack is going to be all the way up. So just a heads up. So we get that very snappy like. This is good for certain situations. When I'm making like 8-bit type stuff, I do normally keep my attack at 0 and like you do get that nice beginning, but it's also great for like string sounds. And you might notice how like that cuts off because it is exactly 4 voices. So unless I'm like super careful when I lift my finger to make sure that I'm not pressing both notes at the same time, they will cut each other off. Gotta practice on the mini keys a bit. Been playing too many big keys. I guess I've come to grown to love mini keys, especially off topic. After owning like the little Casios, like these keys are actually pretty big compared to those little Casio keys. They're like super tiny. So if you can't shred on little keys, you probably can't shred on big keys. All right, let's go through some of these sounds because that was just presets. Oh, actually, you just got what I was going to say right there. One of the things that I really, really dislike about this synth, let's get it out of the way now because I know we're going to encounter it throughout the video, and we just did, is like the dynamic control. And by that, I mean that the volume, like you just saw how loud it got. I had to turn it down. So like the volume is saved per patch. And I guess I did this like thinking of the combos. So like, if you have a very loud patch and you switch onto another one, it might be soft, or the other way around is actually worse, when like you're playing softly and then all of a sudden it's really loud. Like I said, it's something that you have to pre-program. I really like hated doing it when I use the combo because like I would have a certain set of dynamic levels for my 4 voices, and then they would switch to like I would switch to like combo 2, and then that was an issue. So that is one of the things. They're not going to fix it, obviously this is discontinued. They're not going to make any more updates to this. So if you are planning on getting one of these, just heads up. All right, so let's go through some of these presets and let's check it out. Why don't we make a little sequence on the KeyStep Pro? That way we can do a little more tweaking, because I don't have 3 hands. And let me say hello to you guys in the comments. Haven't even looked, I'm sorry. All right. The Blofeld. Okay, so somebody said something about the Blofeld, and I did have the Blofeld before. It's a multi-timbral that, like we were talking about, if you guys are just now tuning in. What other synthesizers are multi-timbral and like a small size? And I said I couldn't really think of any, but yes, the Blofeld is a 16 voice, but it's weird. Okay, I've had the Blofeld. I prefer the sound of the Tetra. The Blofeld is, it was actually, when I bought them, it was either this or the Blofeld. I think I even might have traded the Blofeld for the Tetra. Now that I think about it, I think the way I got my Tetra was I traded my Blofeld for the Tetra. Wow, okay, wow, yeah, a lot of synths come and go. So the Blofeld, it had like this very like sharp sound, kind of like the TI Polar, the revision, like the second one. So like the original TI Polar, the Virus synthesizer, digital synthesizer, the original ones, like, you know, they're like, people want them, they're craved after, they're sought after, that's the word I was looking for, because they have like a more rich analog sound in comparison to the newer ones, and that's kind of like the sound that I can compare it to. The Blofeld, it's like very, what's the word I'm looking for, like sharp, like, I don't know, like my ears just hurt every time I played with it too much, you know, like those type of sounds that are just like, ugh. Some people like them, they're like very crystally sounds. But yeah, so the Tetra would win for me, and especially the analog sounds, because the Blofeld is digital. And not only that, but the multi-timbrality of the Blofeld is actually kind of a pain in the butt to get into. It's not like a straight up as this, and like it does not have separate outputs. Somebody said that, no, somebody's asking, or no, sorry, gotta read. The mini log and the microfreak have 4 voices. Correct. Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, no multi-timbral. Like I said, I think just this and the Blofeld. Can anybody else comment on that? Is there any more that I'm forgetting? Somebody said that the audio is clipping. Yeah, that was actually the patch on the Tetra, so like it wasn't the synth, and that's what I was trying to tell you guys. Some patches are louder than others, but like I said, they're not. It's like one of the things that I don't like about it, but it wasn't enough to like make me not get it, especially now that the prices are going up, because like soon there's not going to be any, and if you want one, you're going to end up paying $1,000 for it. So don't wait till that happens if you're thinking about getting one. Somebody said the MC101 has 4 voices. Yep, but is it? I guess it is multi-timbral, but that's like a groove box, so that doesn't really count. Yeah. All right, let's see what other sounds. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Keep the questions coming. I'm here to answer them to the best of my ability. Okay, let's keep going through some of these sounds. I was thinking of like bringing out the Strymon Blue Sky and, you know, just to like have it run through here and have it sound more crispy, because it is a dry sound, like, you know, it's not being processed by anything. So just keep that in mind when you guys are judging how it sounds. I did that like on purpose because I want you guys to see like what it actually sounds like straight out of the box, because I mean I could drown it in delay and make it sound glorious, but what's the point of that, right? That's not why we're here. All right, let's do it. Actually, before I start, the KeyStep Pro, okay, so there's a really cool feature on the KeyStep Pro that I haven't seen absolutely anywhere else, and that is this little speaker, this little speaker right here. It is for our metronome, so boom. And like, I don't think you guys understand the importance of this, because this means that it is not going out of my audio. So like, if I turn my microphone off, you guys can't hear that, right? So that's amazing for when you're jamming live, because, you know, you don't need a drum machine to like be the master clock for you, because, you know, when you're jamming and it's kind of, if you're just gonna, you know, start recording, like live record, yeah, you could step sequence and it'll be good. But if I'm trying to live record and it's what I normally do, you know, if you're just going by like visually, like where the step is gonna be, you're probably gonna miss it. So having that metronome is really dope. One of my favorite features. So I'm going to turn that on. You guys won't be able to hear it. And then I'm just going to record. But first, I'm going to tweak a little bit and see what sounds good. I'll take that moment where I made a mistake on purpose to make another sequence. So we're going to tie two sequences because, you know, that can get a little boring. And sadly, the KeyStep Pro is only 64 steps. So there is a trick that I like to use. It's not really a trick, but it is. If you don't know, you know, if you're new to this, you might be like, wow, that's amazing. And it is using the time division to like trick your ear to believe that it's 8 bars. So what this does right now, the default is 16 steps. So let me go to our second pattern, clear whatever's on here. And then 16 steps. Okay, so like pay attention over here and also to this. If I press and I switch it to 8, it's slower now. So like, you know, it cuts my time. And then 4 would be a lot slower. So you would think that like, wow, you know, that's what, 120 something steps. If I do the 4. Yes and no. So like, by cutting the time, you cut like the steps to that step. You know what I'm saying? Like the sound, the actual amount of notes that can be played in that time. So let me do an example real quick, just so you know what, like you get an idea what I'm talking about, if you don't know what I'm talking about. All right. So you saw what happened, like that's not what I played, right? So, you know, if you're gonna play, like if you're gonna mess with this, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, depending on like how fast, like how many notes you're adding. So like I could, like it's not impossible to turn this into 128 steps. Is it 128? I think it is. But, you know, it's not gonna be like what we played. So just something for you to know that it is there, but we're gonna keep it at 16 because that's what we had our previous pattern at, and then we're gonna add something else. So what did we have? We had okay, that was a little off because I had my headphones on. You can't hear the metronome. All right, let me clear that. And also this thing is so intuitive. Like it really is. Like I think it's one of the most like hand per function. I did not say that. Hand per function like devices out there, because it really is just taking advantage of the shift button to like access all of these other things. And then it has so many things. I guess this video became kind of like Tetra plus KeyStep Pro. I really think like this has taken the #1 spot like as my favorite sequencer. And I'm not really doing a lot of like sequencing lately, but I guess I am gonna be now. But yeah, this thing is definitely very powerful. Very, very powerful. Okay, so let's do that again. Shift and clear steps, and then we keep our 4 bars. If I did function and clear pattern, it would gave me like a brand new like template project, which is just like 16 steps and then the chromatic scale. Like it looks just like this. But yeah. All right, so let's do that again. Let me listen to this first one. So do you guys notice what I'm doing? Just in case, you know, you're just now watching the video and you want to know what's going on with all this madness. So we have the Tetra already playing 4 voices, right? Kind of, I guess. We're still hearing like a lot of voice stealing. I think that's because I have made the sequence, right? So like we have a sequence and then I'm playing in those like empty spots between the sequence. So I guess you could say that every time that I play like on a 2 or on a 4 or on a 6 or anywhere that there's no step, then I'm able to hear like what I'm playing as the sequence is running. So like, let's say for example, you know, this is here, I play this one, is gonna cut this one like as we are right here. And you see what also happens, it's kind of like stealing the notes from my bass. So just in case you were wondering, like, why does it sound like that, Jade? What's wrong with this machine? It does sound a little feedbacky though, so let me see. How is that, guys? Is that better? Another awesome thing about this sequencer, again, back to the key step, I guess, you know, it's controlling our Tetra. We have octave up and octave down. We have random order of our steps. We have random notes, which, you know, like, it's not going to sound good because it's, unless you put it in a scale. Like, this thing is so powerful. Like, honestly, I don't know why anyone would pay for a Circlon now. Because this thing is just, yeah, definitely get this if you're looking for a sequencer. Okay, so let's do that. Let's like mess with some of these features. So let's go octave up, you know, as we're playing, and just mess with our sequence. But let's find a better sound. Oh my, yes, that. Sorry about that, guys. Like I said, now you know exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about that this thing does not have the greatest dynamic control. And I guess that doesn't make it very reliable when in a live situation because of that, you know, like if I'm playing a beautiful, calm, mellow sound and then, you know, I decide I want to change my sound and I'm not prepared and or I don't know what that sound is, I might go deaf. So... And you saw that, like, if it's peaked a couple times and I've been messing with the volume. That's cool. But will that stop us from getting, you know, getting to look at it on Dallas Jammin'? Of course not. Of course not. Some very cool effects that you can get out of this thing, too. And that beautiful self-oscillation resonance. Woo! Woo boy! Can your grandma hear that? Probably not. Gorgeous sweeps, my goodness. This thing really screams analog like nothing else. It also has a good amount of drum sounds, I believe. It's heading like towards the end. Or maybe that was just my previous Tetra. Doubt it though. Here's a nice fat kick. Whoa. That sounds like an angry cat. So it can definitely get experimental if you're into that type of stuff. It's not for everybody. Very snappy. That's when that attack comes in handy. You can definitely get some very interesting tones out of this thing. I am in combo. Let me get out of that. I wonder how long I was in combo. I guess we'll find out later. It basically doesn't matter because we were just kind of testing the sounds. But in combo, what happens is, like I said, each channel gets its own voice. So it would have only been monophonic, whatever was playing. This would be great for like film scoring, I think. Like a synth like this, you know? What? What? Oh man, that's awesome. Oh, that's too much fun. That's too much fun. That should be illegal. And then it turns around and gives us these gorgeous pads. So I'm gonna have to adjust this volume again. I love how long the sustain is, or the decay. Okay. So it really does have some very pretty sounds, at least to my liking. But you know, I'm kind of a Dave Smith fangirl. But I'm not a Price Dave Smith fangirl. Their stuff is so expensive, but I mean, it's kind of like Moog, to be honest with you. Like, Dave Smith and Moog are like, except Moog doesn't have any good polysynths for some reason. Well, the Moog one, but you know, who can afford that? Who is that for? Not for us. Let me check out the comments section, see what you guys are up to. Yeah, very sci-fi. Joseph F says, anyone who's got a Tetra, find the patch glass rub and retune it so that it's in key. It will sound wonderful. Thank you for that. I will definitely do that. One less voice and you have a Volca. That is true. But you know, a Volca is like $100. Whatever Volca, like $200? Jesus. Everything's so expensive now. But you know, I would definitely save up a little more and try to get one of these if that's like if that's your budget. You know, a few Volcas or a good poly. Someone said, Moose in Basic. This is either an old piece of kit or something brand new. I would never believe either. It's true. Like, it's crazy that like all the things that are out now, I don't know. I feel like we've had such good pieces released in the past, like, and this is what, 2009, I believe someone said in the comments. But I feel like the pieces, like, you know, there's obviously like the TB303, which is like $2,000, which sucks for like whoever owns one, since Behringer cloned it and you can get one for $150 now. But you know, like 2 years ago, people were buying TB303s for $2,000. That's insane. But if you think about like you know, a TR8, a TR909, like those are just like unreachable now. And like, do you really want to own something that old? Like, it comes with, you know, service issues and stuff. Like, you're gonna spend a lot of money. So I feel like we're past that era of like, okay, you know, whoever wants the TR8 or TR, you know, a TR8 or TR909, TR808, there's so many now. Whoever wants, like, you know, SP1200 or something ridiculous, like that's for like collectors. Now we're like on the second stage of that. So now the Tetra's not the Tetra. Well, this has been discontinued. Now the Tempest is discontinued. So people are like, you know. Also, something else that I was able to snag that I'm glad I did, because I promise this is my last this is my last synth for a while. It came back into my possession, the Roland D05. I missed it. It's a little Volca, which is like a replica of the D50, and those are also discontinued. So like, unless you're looking for one, you're not gonna realize that, like, oh wait, these were $300 last year. What, people are asking $600 now? You know, like. So keep an eye out if like that's your type of thing. I like to collect and, you know, flip and play with, so I don't have a problem with that. But yeah, so that was kind of my little rant about, like, you know, the gear that is good, that was good, you know, like 10 years ago, it's eventually like people are gonna grab it, and that's gonna be that. So don't sleep on it. are probably, Jade only plays the black keys. She doesn't know what she's doing. I am like so bad at slim keys. Still going, still going, still going. I'm so bad at slim keys. I feel like I'm better at mini keys. So like there's so many sizes now. I wonder when the extra large keys are gonna come out. Is that a thing? Is that gonna be a thing? Is it a thing now? Pen. Okay. But yeah, just when playing a small keyboard like this, it's just I normally gravitate towards the black keys. Plus it sounds Asian, you know, that's my vibe. So I know a lot of you actually, let me address this once and for all. I know somebody's like, they can afford it, whoever's making this video. You must think like, damn, this girl's got all these synthesizers, she must be ballin'. No, I'm just very irresponsible with my money. And I like to tell myself that like a synth is an investment. Also, I don't really get attached to material things, so like this could be gone next month, this could be gone tomorrow, you know what I'm saying? Like it won't bother me. I've had it, I've messed with it, you know, I know what it sounds like. And a lot of, to be honest, like to be completely honest with you guys, my setup, like my music making setup, is the Yamaha Montage. That is like my baby. That is my workhorse. That is my favorite synthesizer. The SP404, obviously, because that's where I run my beats through, the beats that I make on the Yamaha Montage. And maybe that new machine might become part of the setup, because that machine looks pretty amazing. I never thought they would really make a Dallas machine, so I am definitely excited about trying that out. You guys know that I'm gonna get it, y'all know. But what's gonna leave? So like normally I have like a 1 in 1 out rule that you might have heard me mention before, and it's like, okay, if I spend $1,000 on a synth, I'll have to sell like $1,000 worth of gear, you know. But then I got to the point where it's like, okay, everything that I love, I like, everything that I have, I really like. So now it's like I've bought a bunch of stuff and I haven't really sold much stuff, but it's all like boiling, you know. It's just sitting there, you know, getting vintage, getting sexy. Hey Bo, how are you? Okay, by I say stupid questions, or I say stupid things sometimes. I'm reading, that's like somebody's name in the comment section. You know, everything that comes out of my mouth is genius. Okay, bye. I say stupid things sometimes. He's saying, best $100 synth video. What do you think about Beats? What is a good $100 synth? Bo has done like some budget synths. I know like the Sculpt, I guess. I haven't tried it myself. I've heard good things of it. But $100 synth, I would still try to like save up a little more and maybe like go with some Volcas or something. But actually, no, I take that back. I think like my best recommendation for anyone looking to get into synthesizers or playing keys, you know, if you're just learning, pick up an old Casio, yo. Like, they are so cheap. Obviously not like a CZ101 because, you know, those are vintage now. But, you know, pick up a old Casio. I have so many. What is the cheap one? Something that ends with a 40, MT40, I think, was like $40. I think I got that one for like $40. Hey, Bo. Thank you, Bo. Aw, you're the best. I love you. But yeah, pick up an old Casio because synthesizers are expensive, and especially if you're looking at the newer stuff. Also, you can get some of like the older stuff that's not too old. So like, you know, I don't know, like what? Mini log, like an original mini log, I guess you can. I don't know, I think that might still be a little pricey. But yeah, pick up an old Casio if you're looking for an old synth, or no, if you're looking for a synth under $100, pick up an old Casio. Okay, let's make some more stuff with this. Oh, the microkorg. The microkorg is actually getting expensive now. They're back to like $400. Ouch. I've never had a microkorg, but I've always wanted one. But don't tempt me. It said no more cents. It said no more cents till the end of the month. Okay, so did you guys notice that? Let me address that, because we're live, so people are like, what's going on? Why does it sound like crap? This thing, even though as much as I'm starting to love, like I said, this is starting to become my favorite sequencer, it still has some issues. So like that didn't make sense. Look what happened. I'm pressing a step and it's giving me a chord. And that's not what I pressed. So definitely still some glitchy stuff that I hope they resolve soon, sooner than later. I'm not sure when it was that they released the last software update, but I'm pretty sure I'm on the right one. I could be wrong, hopefully. But yeah, so like, like that would mess up our song. So let's just record live. No, it's not perfect yet. And let me make that longer, because if not, that will be boring. Jesus Christ. Let me tell you what happened there. Let me just tell you what happened. Like I said, I pressed random notes, like, the sequence. Like, you guys saw how simple that sequence was and, like, how it just evolved without me even touching the keyboard, which is pretty amazing. It's very non-linear, which is really surprising because, from like having the 16-step layout on the KeyStep Pro, you would think that it's a very like linear synth, but no, you can definitely get like some very, what's the word? Like evolving sequences on this thing. So what happened was, instead of pressing random order, which is what I was planning to do, I pressed random notes. And since we are in our chromatic scale, that just gave us like random notes without a scale. So why don't we actually go into a different scale? Something funky. Let's see. Maybe the Dorian? That's fine. And sorry for your ears. My dog is... Somebody must be here. They have to wait. Sorry, got lost in the madness. So good for effects. I really swear this is made for film scoring. I would love to see an updated version of the Tetra. Please, Dave Smith, let's sign a petition. You know, they're giving us a new Tempest. I don't think it's going to be a new Tempest, but I mean, who knows? Maybe it will be a Tempest MK2, but I don't know. I feel like they're going to do something different. Because, you know, they're not really ones to do revisions, you know? So I would love to see, imagine an 8-voice multi-timbral synth. Oh my god, that would be amazing. I feel like this synth works very well with this keyboard because it's 4 voices. So we're definitely going to look at that in a different video. If you guys haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any videos, you know? And that little bell lets you know when I'm online, so do that if you haven't done that. Yeah, all right, let's go through a few more sounds. Let's do the... Definitely a gorgeous synth if you can afford one and you can put up with the the dynamic issues, as I like to call them. Worth a buy, I think, especially for the size. I love like tiny little synth that I can just tiny little things that I can just like boop, okay, I'm just gonna put this right here, and just it gives me space to put something else right here, something else right here. So I appreciate tiny stuff, especially tiny powerful things. Yeah, I hope you guys like this video. I'm gonna answer a few more questions before I sign off. Okay, so yes, this is actually all analog with DCO, so digital controlled oscillators. And does it have internal effects? I don't think so. I think the delay is made the same way that the delay is made on the Tempest, which is like a MIDI repetition, like MIDI effect type thing. But no, I don't think it has like actual, no, it doesn't have actual audio effects. It would have sounded gorgeous through audio effects, but I wanted to keep it clean, for you guys. A few announcements before I head out. I've been working a lot on my online store. Got some dope merch. If you want to be safe and not spread germs. Got some cool synthesizer swag, some masks, some fanny packs, some dope shirts, some cool stickers, all designed by yours truly. If you guys want to support what I do in any way, check out my sample packs. They're pretty dope. Also sound packs for like certain synthesizers. I only have like the Minilog XD, Micro Korg. I'm working on a Zoya pack right now. So definitely keep an eye out on that. And dope synthesizer shirts, you already know. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I love you. Stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.